Hey everyone, it's Stella Grizont from WUPA, and we're doing a Work Happier Live to talk about how you can work happier and live better. That's our mission here. So today I wanted to talk to you about being an introvert. So I didn't even know that I was an introvert until I met my boyfriend, now husband, who's an extreme extrovert. I thought I was an extrovert, and actually that's the deal for a lot of introverts. Our society as a whole really values being extroverted. So before we get into this, just to back up a few steps, for those of you who don't know what introvert extrovert refers to, or if you've heard these terms tossed around, an introvert refers to someone who gets energy by being alone, someone who would prefer to kind of be in a quiet environment, maybe read a book, or meet up with like a few friends and have intimate conversation instead of going to a really loud party with lots of people. Introverts tend to be more thoughtful, observant, and really good listeners. Extroverts get their energy from being around other people. So they actually get drained if they're not like engaging with others. So I always talk about my husband as like if he doesn't if he misses a day of like not talking to a complete stranger, like it's as if he's like wilting like a plant. Like he really needs to talk to strangers. So whenever we're in a Lyft or an Uber, he sits in the front with the driver and gets their whole life story, and I sit in the back very happy to be quiet. So that's a little of what it means to be an introvert and extrovert. Now, our society, like I was saying, really values being an extrovert. When we think of leaders, we think of usually extroverts, people who are bold, take risks, talk a lot. In fact, studies show that people who talk really quickly and talk a lot are perceived as actually being more intelligent, but they're not necessarily more intelligent. It's just that our culture, especially in America, has a bias towards preferring extroverts. Whereas in other countries, such as many Asian countries, or even in Africa, people are actually less extroverted and more introverted. In the United States, about 30 to 50%, depending on what study you look at, are introverts. So the people that you're surrounded with, either you're married to an introvert, you're working with an introvert, you have an introverted child, I mean, we're everywhere. So I didn't know I was introverted again until I had the super high contrast of being with my husband and realizing I'm very, very different. And he's actually helped me a lot in really understanding myself better and encouraging me to really tend to my energy. So today I want to talk to you if you're finding yourself feeling drained all the time, just feeling really tired, then you might not be tending to your introverted tendencies in the way that you should. And the reason, again, is because we live in a culture that expects and treasures extroverts. We often don't have the right boundaries in place, and often don't even have the awareness that we should be tending to our energy in a different way. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is boundaries. So what are boundaries? Boundaries is just like, it's just a rule or a guidepost that you set up for yourself that enables you to be the best version of yourself. So, you say, okay, beyond this point, I'm not going to go beyond this point, because if I do, then that means I'm not putting myself in a good position, or I'm not going to let you go beyond this point. So examples of boundaries that I've actually created for myself are no client calls on Mondays and no client calls on Thursdays. If I talk to clients every single day, then I am just like, I'm just like a collection of like nothing at the end of the week. I can barely talk. I'm not fun to be around. I can't be present. So and because on the weekends, I'm very social with friends and family. I know that by the time Monday comes around, I'm not productive because I just need to decompress from being around so many people. And so I own my own business. I can make my schedule a lot probably easier than most people who work for a company. But I would challenge you to think about what are the boundaries you can create to give yourself time to really restore and to recharge. So, and to really prioritize that. Okay. So that means taking a hard look at your calendar and maybe giving yourself time at lunch to not be in meetings during lunch, to go somewhere quiet, to try to push calls to maybe another day, or to minimize how many calls and meetings you actually are in every single day, right? The way introverts work is that we need alone time to process information, and we do our best thinking when we're alone. So that goes to tip number 2 is give yourself alone time to think, because often your most creative ideas will come when you're alone. Again, this goes against the grain of the very American ideals around being extroverted, which have influenced a lot of prioritization of groupthink and sitting in open floor plans, which now people know is a really bad idea, but still exists. So it's so important for you to get into a quiet space and just allow, just focus, because introverts tend to focus really well and like to unpack information and sit with information. So you really need to give yourself that time in order for you to be most productive. All right. What else did I want to share with you? This is an interesting tip that I've kind of stumbled into in my work. So one of the ways that I advanced my career, whether it was in corporate America or as an entrepreneur, was I developed really healthy communities and networked. But I didn't network by going to different events and like networking with people in the traditional way that we think of networking, because I find that super draining. It is exhausting to me. I come home, I'm like a wilted flower. I can't even function. But instead of going to events and trying to connect to people there, instead what I've been doing is hosting events, creating organizations. And it doesn't have to be a lot of work, but I find that when I'm the host of an experience or an event, it's not as draining as me going to an event and trying to fit in and do a lot of small talk, because I find that really draining. So if you are at a point in your life where maybe you need to be connecting because you want to advance within your organization, or you want to find a new job, or you want to switch careers, the way for you to build the most influential community and network that you can is to be an organizer of it. And so if you're trying to find out information or develop your skills in a field, so is everyone else. So why not get together a group of people and invite a speaker to come in every month, or host your own podcast and invite in people that way? So the reason why I could thrive in developing communities and organizing people, I did this when I worked at Ladies Who Launch, which was one of the largest communities for women entrepreneurs. I did this when I was in advertising in corporate America. I created my own committee of people to help engage employees. So the reason why this works to really propel your career in it's like an accelerator. is because you're developing one-on-one intimate relationships with influencers, because you're reaching out to them to either be a speaker, to advise on a project, or to be a guest on your podcast. And that creates one-on-one interaction with people you probably really admire and with people who could potentially support you and connect you with other people. And so what ends up happening, instead of being a guest at a party, you're the host of the party. And so everyone can therefore get a sense of who you are and your values and your value. And you don't have to like try to do small talk with everyone else, because you're the host. So that's a real goodie, and that's helped me a lot. And then what else? The other thing is, when you're an introvert, oh, Griffin, yeah. Yeah, Griffin says, this is so true. I love hosting dinners, but don't like going to other people's houses nearly as much. Exactly. Me too. Although I don't like doing the cleaning. So I've discovered, like, if you have like someone to help with that, that is really helpful. So the other thing that's really important to know is, as an introvert, you have certain superpowers. You're a very keen observer. You are a really good listener. And so often people think that introverts don't make great leaders, but in fact, they really do. Especially, they make great leaders of teams of people who are already motivated. So when you have a team of people who are really motivated, introverted leaders are the best kind of leaders for those people. And the reason why is because they're willing to hear their team, and they're willing to understand what they're saying. So if your team has feedback or has certain needs, that leader is going to be more responsive and not so stuck on pushing their agenda forward. And so as an introvert, remember that you have certain superpowers that maybe not everybody has. You're very thoughtful and you're a good listener. And that actually has a lot of power. Albert Einstein, Eleanor Roosevelt, Rosa Parks, Gandhi, all introverts who have done amazing things. And so use that superpower of being observant and a great listener, and that will also work for you in negotiations, because you're more calm and you're asking questions, and that can diffuse a lot of tension in negotiations. And what else is another tip? I don't know if I'm doing 5, actually. I may be doing more or a little less, but finally, I just want to, the important thing is, sometimes, like, I'm actually more of an ambivert. An ambivert is someone who can turn on being an extrovert when necessary. And so sometimes in a work situation, you just have to step it up. And the thing is, being someone you're not is never really good, because people can sniff that out, right? But when you're passionate about something, when you care about something, then you're willing to turn it up. And so what's really important for you is to know, what's important for me? What do I really care about? So for example, I'm not really, for example, maybe my daughter's not in elementary school yet, but like, maybe I would consider joining the PTA, even though I'm not often one to do like mom group type of things, because I really care about my daughter and I really care about education, and I might be like willing to do that and get over my introverted stuff for that. Or I'm passionate about my work, so I love doing public speaking and I love getting on stage, and so I do that, so that I can turn up the dial when there's things that are really important to me. I can do that. So what's really important when it comes to being an introvert is knowing, what is it that you care most about, and how is it that you want to be in this world. And to help you with that If you haven't already done my vision generator exercise, you guys, download that. You can go to visiongenerator.com, and that will start to help you develop clarity on what's most important to you. And more importantly than like what it is that you want, how it is that you want to be. And as an introvert, it's really important for you to get clear on how is it that I want to be showing up. Because most likely it's, I want to be energized. I want to be present. I want to be connecting with people in a deep and thoughtful way. I want to maybe be, whatever it is. But in order for you to be how you want to be, you need to tend to your energy and create those healthy boundaries so that you're showing up as your most alive version of yourself. So, for example, when I have a bunch of speaking gigs, what I will do is the day after speaking gig, I will clear my calendar so I don't have any calls so that I could actually just check out and watch Netflix all day, because sometimes that's what I need to restore. So think about how is it that you want to be, and then think about how can I build into my schedule and into my workflow space for me to restore and to be energized. And then when it comes to what's most important, where am I willing to turn the dial up so that I can enjoy the stuff that's most important to me? So I hope that helped, you guys. And thank you so much for joining. If you like these kinds of Work Happier Weeklies, I have a YouTube channel up where you can watch all of them, or you can go onto my WUPA Facebook page and see them there. They're in both places. And definitely join my newsletter if you're not on that. You can go to wupa.com. And if you do the Vision Generator, you'll automatically be on my list. But if you go to wupa.com and you go to the bottom of the page, you can sign up to be on my newsletter, where I share stuff like this. I share upcoming free events that I'm speaking at, or podcasts that I've been on. Coming up this spring is are some live events and some podcasts, and I should have them right now for you, but I don't. But they'll be in my newsletter that I send out tomorrow. So any questions for anyone who's still watching live? All right, with that, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night, and wishing you wonderful flowing energy and just feeling like your most alive self. Good night.